Let's talk markets. Let's pivot back to the markets. Gold is looking healthy. Hate to get into feelings, right? But the chart looks good. If we can break above that 1830, 1835 trend line, I think we're off to the races to 2000 here soon. I'd love to hear your thoughts. You're more of a technical analyst than I am, but it feels and it looks good.
We've been stepping up every week. It was like late December. It's like gold starting to look good. And then early January, gold starting to look good. And now it's really starting to look good, especially because you have rates backing away yields. The U.S. 10-year saying, no, I'm not going to break out above like 1.8%. And then you have the dollar backing off. And so both of those things are good for gold. And I continue to think that you're going to get slower economic growth this year than you saw at the end of last year. And it's just so funny to watch, the mainstream media be led by the Fed, who is 18 months to 2 years behind, and that's who's like leading the thing, right? So you had Jerome and Brainerd, testifying this week, and they saying their mission was to tamper inflation. The number one thing is to stop the inflation that's hurting the American people. But meanwhile, they were saying there was no inflation the entire time. They could have been stopping, or at least not making it last so long. So that narrative is behind is what I've been saying. And to drill down on that further, you can still see high prices. You can still see supply chain bottlenecks at the same time that the true market forces that dictate that ahead of the curve, right, are starting to soften a little bit. And so there's definitely changes going on because gold is getting stronger and rates are looking like they want to get weaker. And that's the opposite of what happened in 2021.
Calling inflation the biggest threat after denying inflation for 2 years. And then, and by the way, let's be absolutely clear. If you had an advisor or a fund manager or a newsletter writer or whatever, anybody that's in charge of providing ideas, you're big boys and girls out there, you make your own investment decisions, right? But anybody that was providing ideas and got the inflation call wrong, they got the transitory, permanent inflation call wrong, they cost you a ton of money. Because, it's not to brag and knock on wood, but Nick and I had a couple of good years. And we had a couple of good years positioning and front-running that inflation narrative, that inflation was transitory, that it was just going to go away the following month and the following month and the following month. And you like to call it inflation profits, Nick, and it's been a solid couple of years. The IRS is happy with us.